All right, we're coming back here on Sports Talk Chicago. Joey Christopoulos filling in for John Zach Glule. Make sure you follow us on socials at Sports Talk Chicago. It might be Sports Talk Shy, wherever you go on X, if you go on Instagram. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and thank you to all our radio affiliates for airing this episode here with the fantastic Bears Wire's Brendan Sugrue. We're going through Chicago sports, burning questions this summer. We're at number 3 right now. We hit Caleb Williams. We hit the Cubs. And this is kind of a good transition point, Brendan, because, look, I don't think either of us are going to profess to be hockey aficionados, but we are going to do it very, very quickly in a segment that I like to call Hockey Corner, presented to you by Zambonis and Leather Jackets. Want to go to a Blackhawks game or a hockey game? Throw on a leather jacket and watch a Zamboni. All right, here we go. We're talking about Caleb Williams. We're talking about stars. I just want to talk about Connor Bedard because I saw something really interesting where you're reading a lot about the draft lottery. They got the number 2 pick in the draft, which is great news for the Chicago Blackhawks organization. But you're also reading a lot of pundits, analysts out there saying that the Chicago Blackhawks are still 3 to 4 years away from even competing for a playoff spot. I wanted to get your take on that because that sounds like a bunch of BS to me. I don't know a ton about hockey. I know that they're probably bereft of talent. I know that the Seth Jones contract is probably going to last for the next 10 years until I'm 50. I just entered my 40s now. They got $33 million in cap space, Brendan. And look, I think with Caleb, Connor Bedard, Angel Reese, we're getting an influx of superstardom here in Chicago right now. So when you hear that the Chicago Blackhawks are 3 or 4 years away from competing for a playoff spot, how do you ingest that? And are you buying that? How is that even possible?
It really pains me. It pains me so much. I had to think about the last time we actually saw a true playoff series with the Blackhawks. And look, 2020 happened. They got in that weird play-in game, and then they got decimated by Edmonton, I believe. It's been since 2017, 7 years since that last core, and they got smoked by Nashville. I can't imagine. I refuse to imagine another 3 to 4 years. That would be 10 years since the Hawks actually made a playoff series, basically. But you know what? In my very astute hockey knowledge, and I consider myself just a hockey aficionado.
Bring it.
They call me the puck pro. No, they don't. But I think they could do it in maybe like 1 to 2. I would say 2 because the Hawks for the last few years have been in rebuilding mode. Right, they had the 2 first-round picks last year. They get Bedard, and last year was, for a number of reasons, not great. Injuries played a huge role in it. They lost Taylor Hall almost immediately into the season, and he could have played a much bigger role than maybe than even anticipated because he's a solid scorer. Bedard, of course, goes down for a month. Other guys kind of step up, like Khrushchev, but I think now they're in that build mode, and they're like, okay, we have a nucleus here. We probably want to get a little bit more there, but now you can start spending a little more, and it's less about the teardown and more of like, let's build with this core. Bedard's only going to get better. I mean, 61 points in 68 games, still really, really good. Easily the best rookie, and he's only 18 years old. Like, he's going to get so good. We saw it with Patrick Kane early on when he was so young. Like, it only took a couple years for him to really flourish at that MVP candidate level. I think they're going to put pieces around him, and I think some of these other guys, maybe not Seth Jones, obviously, but some of the other players can continue to rise and get better for them to be competing for that 7 or 8 spot in one of those wild card spots in the Western Conference.
Yeah, 1 to 2 years that makes a ton of sense. 3 to 4 sounds insane to me. I don't even care what sport you're playing. In any sort of professional sport, when you have someone that could be a superstar like Connor Bedard, you're telling me you can't build 2 top 6s on the blue line and on offense that you can't run out there. You can't tell me you can't find a goalie for $4 or $5 million that's at least going to give you a solid effort that's going to get you out there. I mean, I hate burning years on superstars, and also goes back to the Cubs thing. That I just caution all Chicago sports fans. It's okay to fall in love with the kids, but don't fall too in love with the kids for too long. Like, let's just, wait till Nazar gets going, or wait till if we take, this guy this year, 2-3 years, wait till we pair him with that. I mean, we saw it with Teravainen. We saw it with Panarin. We saw it with Saad. I mean, those guys kind of came up Granted, they were part of some great championship caliber teams, but it was almost like we waited on them for almost a little bit too long, and I'm worried that they do that with the Chicago Blackhawks. So that was our Hockey Corner, brought to you by Leather Jackets and Zambonis, a proud sponsor of both of those things. Brendan, number 4, my friend, what's your 4th burning question for Chicago sports this summer?
All right, I was going back and forth between everyone's favorite owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, on which direction we want to go. So I think,
is that your burning question? How good is the milkshake? Is that
no. Can the milkshake become the Chicago White Sox All-Star representative?
Can the milkshake hit 4th in the White Sox lineup instead of Eloy? That's what I want.
It's very thick, okay? I mean, no, I was debating between the two, but I think I'm going to go a little bit basketball because it is the NBA playoffs. I've been very entertained with what's happened, which also makes me sad because the Chicago Bulls haven't played a game in well over a month. So, again, kind of a little question, but I truly want to know your thoughts. Where do the Chicago Bulls go from here? Because this is just a weird offseason where DeMar DeRozan's a free agent. You still have Zach LaVine's enormous contract. Where do they go? What do they do? Like, what's the plan? I need help.
I mean, look, they are, when you talk about a rock and a hard place, they've set up shop there. And they've dropped off all their stuff. They're starting to hang pictures and really starting to settle in on the rock and the hard place there. Because I think the problem is, I mean, here's let's play the two sides of the coin, right? You've got the Indiana Pacers side that are now playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. A team that has somehow over the past couple of years went out and acquired Tyrese Halliburton and also acquired Siakam. And also Pascal Siakam, and all of a sudden they have kind of the two guys plus of other pretty decent draft picks and stuff, some fringe people that honestly the Chicago Bulls can easily do, and all of a sudden now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the optimist side is, if you're a Bulls fan, you say, man, that is a possibility, that is attainable, especially in the Eastern Conference. But the problem is I think they banked their role on the wrong guys. As much as I love DeMar DeRozan, he is a byproduct, and so is Vucevic. He is a byproduct of the major swing and the miss that they had on Zach LaVine, man. I mean, Zach LaVine is supposed to be the Tyrese Halliburton of the Indiana Pacers, the young guy, the guy who has the ball in his hands with a high usage rate, that's putting up points, hitting big shots, and obviously when he has time, making the highlight reel at the end of games, and when you're trying to check it out on Twitter. So my thing is, I just don't know what world out there they can trade Zach LaVine for. I mean, I'll throw it back at you. Does Zach LaVine have any trade value for you?
No, absolutely not.
So that is the problem right there. And I don't even know, they're talking about how this NBA draft is so thin. Is there a world where you can trade any of the guys on the Chicago Bulls right now and try and get into that top 4? And I know that might sound insane, but honestly, they think that the talent level is so thin in this year's draft. You could trade a guy who's maybe the 4th or 5th best player on your team and get into the top 4 of the NBA draft lottery. Do the Bulls have the gumption to go out there and do that? Because I think that's the only way. They have to take another swing at it, right? I mean, they whiffed on Patrick Williams. They have to go back in there and swing on a guy and pray to God that he's worth something, because other than that, man, I do not see a path. I'm reticent to trade Patrick Williams right now because he has no value, and I want to see if we're bailing on him too fast like we did a Lauri Markkanen situation. I think the Kobe White situation was a great story this year. I'd love to see the ball in his hands more, but when Zach LaVine comes back, what does that look like? If you lose DeMar DeRozan, you're already a below 500 team. What does that mean? So rocking a hard place, my friend. I wish I had a cool answer. I wish I had a cool solution. I'll ask you this as a follow-up. Would you blow the whole thing up? Would you trade as many of these guys as you can and just try and start rolling the dice for the next couple of years in the lottery?
At this point, yes. And that's actually a different answer than I had even a year, definitely 2 years ago. because I still saw this team as competitive, and me selfishly as a fan, I like to watch competitive basketball, and it sucks because Jerry Reinsdorf, AK, they got me because that is their thing. They want to remain competitive, and I am that sucker to say, yeah, I'll watch a team like try to fight for that 7th playoff spot, and maybe, hey, they'll have some good nights. Maybe they'll take down the Timberwolves or something, but you can't live in that role. Like, this team caught lightning in a bottle for 3 months in early 2021. It's almost 3 years ago. And then they've just been holding on to that and trying to recreate it and just doing next to nothing to improve the team. I mean, they haven't made a trade deadline move in well over 3 years. Vucevic was the last one. They stood pat.
Yeah.
They haven't really acquired any big name free agent or anybody that moves the needle, even say. I mean, Andre Drummond might be the one guy, but at this point, you know what this team is. And you just got to do your best to blow it up and try to start from scratch. But that also leads me to question whether AK and Mark Eversley can even evaluate talent in the draft, because they had one shot at the top 4, and it was Patrick Williams. Tyrese Halliburton was there, didn't do anything, and clearly he was a top scorer at Iowa State coming out. So you swing and a miss with Patrick Williams. He's a free agent anyway, so you can't even really trade him, I guess, or you trade him for peanuts at this point in a sign-and trade. But I'm almost at the point, and this is a terrible idea, so please don't entertain this, but I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? Just trade Zach LaVine for Trae Young. It's not a good idea, but at least it's hey, I'm looking at a pile of trash, and I know it's trash, and both of these are just very big piles of trash, but this one's different.
It is different. Cool. Look at this. This is a different pile of trash. Are you not entertained? Look, the thing that I'll agree with you. That was our last segment here, Brendan's terrible ideas segment. No, the one thing that I'll agree with you on that though is that the only way I can maybe see them trying to maybe rearrange the deck chairs a little bit is if you did sign and trade DeMar DeRozan, and you told me that you could somehow bring in, maybe not just with that trade, but another free agent signing, 2 to 3 actual legitimate 3-point shooters, which we do not have. We do not have any of those guys. Zach LaVine, obviously the numbers have regressed. He is one guy, but no one else really on our team. Kobe's numbers have gone up, so I will give him that. But we need legitimate 3-point shooting in the modern NBA that averages 35 to 45 attempts from the 3-point range every single game. We simply just don't have enough of that. So, if you want to wrap my head around, I don't even think this makes sense, but a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan for a guy like Tyler Hero or something like that, maybe that changes things a little bit, and you can play that up and down run and gun and try and beat teams, 135 to 130, because it certainly isn't working out the way that they're doing it right now. But yeah, I don't know what they do, and I'm expecting inactivity. So that's kind of where I'm landing on that.